Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Katie. So this week for some reason I just really felt like making some projects with air dry clay. I had a bunch of it lying around and I always have so much fun creating with this because it's so easy to work with and you can make so many different pieces. So I just wanted to make some new decor for my house and show you guys how I did it. So I'm really excited to share these with you. They came out so cool. I think you're really going to love them. So let's get started. For this first project, I'm using this terracotta clay, which I've used in so many projects on my channel before. I'll link it down below as always. But I just rolled a small amount of it out onto some wax paper. And this is the jar I'm using, so I'm just basically making sure that I'm rolling it out so that it's going to cover the height of the jar up to like the little rounded part at the top of it. So I'm just guesstimating here. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect. And then I took a ruler and I just cut this into a rectangle shape so that the edges aren't all funky like they look right now. So I did that on each side and the top and the bottom. So like I said, I'm using this old spice jar that I'm just going to recycle for this project, and I laid it out on the rectangle and then I just brought the sides up of the clay so that they could meet in the middle and kind of create a seam, which are going to smooth out eventually. So just try to get this as close as possible, but if it's not perfect, like you can see here, I have a gap at the bottom. I just grabbed an extra piece of clay and I added it to the rest of it. And now what you can do is take some water and start to smooth out all of these little seams here. So with air dry clay, it responds really well to water and you can smooth out any rough edges, any cracks in it, things like that. You can use a paintbrush or you can use your finger. I always end up just using my finger anyway. So I just went around the whole thing and found any little cracks or things like that and smooth them out with my finger and some water. Now you can see obviously the top part isn't covered, so I'm gonna cut an extra piece of clay for this and add it right to the top. And then again, it's going to create this seam, so you know the drill. The next step is to add some water to it and just smooth out all the edges. So with these types of projects, for me, I know it's never going to be perfectly symmetrical or anything like that, but I just try my best to make it look as close as possible to being perfect, but I don't worry about it too much because I kind of like that handmade look. I also decided to fold down the top of the clay sort of like into the top of the jar so it created a nice clean line at the top. And then you can let it dry for about 24 hours. And I'm keeping the jar inside. I'm not going to take it out because I want to use this as a vase, so I want to be able to add water to it. The last step I decided to do was mix some white paint with some water and create this speckled pattern. And I think this looks amazing and I can't wait to style it. For this next project, I'm using this Crayola air dry clay. I love this stuff and I get huge tubs of it. This one was only $10 on Amazon and I can make so many things with it. So that's pretty awesome. And I just took out a big chunk of it and I'm rolling it out into this tube kind of like snake shape. And the size of this will depend on really your taste, like what size you want it to be for your decor. But I wanted to make mine fairly big. So I rolled it into this U shape and then I took some dental floss to actually cut the top off so that it would be flat on top. And this worked really well to cut smoothly through the clay. So highly recommend trying that out. And then I decided to kind of just like set it up and flatten the bottom so that when it dries, it will be able to stand the way that I want it to. Then I laid it back down on its side and went through this whole process again that I did with the other project of just smoothing it out with some water. There were like some little bumps here and there and some cracks and things like that. And again, this is never going to be perfect. I just know it. That's just the way I am when I make stuff. It's not going to be perfect, but I'm making it as close as possible. And then I took a taper candle that I had and I just sort of made a mark on each side so that I would know what size the hole would need to be. And then I took my X-Acto knife and kind of carved out that little area where I made the mark with the candle. So then I stuck the candle back inside just to make sure that when it's all dry, the candles that I want to use will actually fit. And this was the hardest part of just sort of making sure that it looked even at the top on each side and that it wasn't super bumpy or anything like that. And then I just let that dry for about 48 hours because this one is a lot bigger, so it takes a little longer to dry. And this is what it looked like after it was dry, and I think it looks really cool, but I did want to paint it, so I just went with a plain white paint, nothing too fancy, and it took about 2 coats to cover it completely. And then once it was dry, I just added my candles in. I put in the twisted candles that I made in my video last week. I think they look so cool with it, so I'm really happy with how all of this came together. This one might be my favorite piece that I made, and it was kind of an afterthought, and it's always funny, those are the pieces I end up loving the most. But I wanted a little like jar to hold matches and stuff, so I just rolled out a few pieces of clay into this snake shape again and then curved them into a circle, and I made a few of them and just stacked them on top of each other, and I tried to keep them about the same size and make sure that the seams were all lining up in the back at the same place. And then I stacked them all on each other and kind of formed it, and to smooth this one out I actually used a little paintbrush with some water. It made it a lot easier to get in between each of these rings here and make it look more seamless, like they were all one piece. And I did not glue these together because when they dried, they were stuck together really well, so I didn't feel like it was going to fall apart at all. And I think this looks so cool. I decided to paint it a dark gray color with some white speckles. You could paint it any color you want, but I thought that looked super chic. Make sure you pay extra attention to the seams in the back where you connected all the rings, and you should be good to go. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing how I put each of these together. Like I said, it's so much fun to work with air dry clay just because there are a ton of different things you can make, and it's really hard to mess up too, which is why I love it so much. So if you guys like this, make sure you give my video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more DIY videos like this. And if you're not following me on Instagram, it would be so awesome if you follow me over there as well. I create other projects on there that I don't show in my videos, and I also do a lot of giveaways. So make sure you head on over there and check it out, and I'll see you guys next week for a brand new video.